Hey there everybody. So today we're going to be continuing working on our fender wells for the 65 Mustang right here. As you guys may remember from our last video, we had seam sealed this entire edge. It's looking really good. It came out really well. The inside of this came out looking pretty good too. It's everywhere, but honestly it's a fender well. I don't really care that much. So what I'll be trying to do in this video is get this bad guy reassembled all the way up, get all the edges seam sealed. So once I get this top part right here seam sealed up, I can start working on this bottom piece right here, getting this to conform to the inside of the trunk, and then from there I will seam seal it. Probably try and lift up this corner a little bit, shoot it up underneath it, and then try and push it back down. I think that'll be my best bet, but when we get there, we will all see how I do it. But for now, I'm going to try and seam seal the top of this, shoot it in a little corner, and see how easily and how long that takes. On paper, it sounds like it should be pretty easy, but in reality, who knows how long this might actually take. When it comes to stuff for me, easy things are always take a bit of finessing to get to work properly. So, we'll just get all my stuff in the right spot. We'll continue. Alright, so I'm thinking the best way for me to do this is going to be to try and get one of the top or bottom screws in pretty slack, so there's still a nice little gap right here. And then if I can, I'm going to try and shoot the seam sealer. I guess that's probably not going to work. Hopefully it doesn't come off, but what I'm probably going to end up doing is shooting a whole bunch of seam sealer through all right here, leaving my little holes, and then as everything tightens together and squeezes, it should press everything into all the little corners and stuff. Let's see if that works. I'm hopeful that this works, but the pragmatist in me says that it's probably going to take some work and some time. Unfortunately, this isn't the good side of the vehicle, so I can't really get you guys in on this side with me, but if you don't mind bearing with me while I just talk through all the stuff I'm doing, and then I'll show you guys on the next side. I'm just having some issues getting this in the right position to even be able to put screws in it. Honestly, it's been a little bit, so I don't remember how I got all this to fit perfectly the first time. So now it's just wanting to fight me. But just judging from how this is going together, I'll put the seam sealer on it, and I'll just try and make it all work without squeezing it all over the place. I think that's going to be my best bet. Maybe not the easiest or the cleanest bet, but sometimes you what you know or what you think you know, and just kind of hope you don't mess it up too bad. So I'm trying to stay out of my hole itself, just to see if maybe that helps me with alignment when I'm getting all my screws in. I'm hopeful, but who knows? This stuff could just all slide right off after I start trying to position it into place. And while I would prefer if that didn't happen, there's only a couple choices it has. Either it works with me or it doesn't work with me, and you never know how things are going to play out. Okay. It'll just hold there nicely for me. I think I got it in the right-ish spot. Let's see if I can get one of my screws in, either the front or the back. I'm hoping for the front. Oh, come on. The front of this just wants to get stuck up here for me, so I just need to unstick it, get it in the right spot. Come on. Off you go. Alright. Alright, now I'm going to try and get this first screw up into place. I'm kind of hoping this this one screw gets everything in just the right spot, so everything just, all my screws just go right in. It's looking like it does not want to do that though, so I need to find a little flathead screwdriver so I can pull this all. So I can pull it forward a little bit. It's just fighting me just a smidge. No, it's probably because I can't get just the perfect angle that I had screwing all the screws in the first time. But that's no big deal. We'll make it fit, make it work. Cool, I got the first one in, and I got it tight, perfect. Now I'm going to try and get the back one in, but of course the seam sealer has found its home, so I'm not quite sure where my holes are. Cool. Second one found its little home. Things are starting to just go right in, which is perfect. Last one just wants to strip on me. So, take it out, replace it. Cool. Next one's in. Ooh, I can actually see the bottom hole, so that's perfect. Let me just see if I can screw this one in real quick. Perfect. So that one's not tight, but it's in. Okay. The rest of these should just go right on in with no issues whatsoever. Unless, of course, I just can't get on the other side. Okay. Right. Next one's in. Perfect. Next one is almost all the way in. And it's in. Cool. Two left. Now, unfortunately, because of the angle on some of these, it's not real easy to get the screw in. And I just want to fight and strip. So I'm not surprised that these are fighting me. I'm just annoyed. Okay. Second from the bottom one's in, so it's just this. Third from the bottom. Okay, that one's in. Tightening the bottom one now. Okay, cool. Those are all tight. Let me take you guys for a quick look underneath there. Obviously, you guys can still see the little gap right in here. This part still needs to be beat down a little bit, and then there's a little gap down in there, but nothing I can't fix. So, here is the inside of it. Again, minus these, I'm going to call them small little gaps, because they're not the biggest things in the world. This entire one's going to get sucked up by beating this tab down, and then this won't be hard to fill. We're not going to talk about that part, but this whole part right up in here all looks good, and it'll take just a little bit of work to get it looking perfect. But now I'm going to start working on the little trunk to bottom seam, and then just take it from there. See how it goes. See what I end up making it look like. It's a little hot down here in Florida. I don't know what part of the states or what kind of anywhere anyone is, but down here in Florida it's probably solid 80 degrees, and it was in the 40s last week, so we're getting huge temperature swings, which I'm glad we're not dealing with cold, but not happy to be dealing with this warmth in my garage right now. Let's see. So the first thing I'm going to try is I'm just going to try and use my handy dandy little hammer and just hammer everything down. I think I'll be able to get that down enough. The second part to that is pulling the slip over enough so that it's not in the so the bottom part of this this trunk right here on the edge is actually the part of the frame rail, and it's a big U like this. So what I need to do is try and get on the inside of the, so if it looks like this, there's ridges on either side of the U, so I'm trying to get the lip on the inside of that, so I'm not screwing into that lip. It's more metal that I want to go through, and I think it'll just be easier if I was able to pull this lip over enough to get inside this U. I think it's doable. But again, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit this with a hammer to make it down close to the surface, and then once it's down close to the surface, I'll take my drill bits, drill these down, get a couple self-tapping screws in here to hold it, and I think I'll be able to shoot the seam sealer in from the back side of this before I finish screwing it down, and that will be more than good enough for my purposes. Alright, so it's looking like the gap back here is going to be a little bit thinner than what I would have liked. I wonder if I can kind of persuade that inward a little bit. I think that should be more than good. Definitely be helpful for this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start drilling some holes. I'll drill a hole back here, screw up. I won't quite screw it down, but I'll drill a hole right here for the screw and the self-tapping screw, and then I'll drill a couple more down in here just so that it's ready to hold tight. Then I'll throw my seam sealer in there, screw everything down, and then I'll start working on these little parts like right here and like in the front. I'm not too concerned with that stuff. I just wanted to stop the majority of the water from interacting with the inside of my trunk, which this will more than cover. All right. Let's grab the drill. Let's get drilling. So I think I have enough self-tapping screws to not have to worry about anything like that. I'm sure as you guys saw, my little table back behind you, there's a lot more free space because I just moved my toolkit off of it, which will give me a much easier space to go in between the car and my little workspace, which will be nice. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get these parts drilled in. Hadn't thought that far in yet. That's a later me problem. I'm not quite sure if I can get a hole in that last one right now. So I'll just work with these front ones right here. So I think what I'm going to attempt to do is see if I can kind of like concave this inside in with a hammer. See if maybe that helps out quite a bit with getting this in far enough. It actually doesn't look too bad. Now, obviously my measurements are just a little bit messed up, but with enough seam sealer in here and these self-tapping screws holding everything in, I don't think it'll leak, which again is the main problem that I'm trying to fix here, that when I'm driving this car, I'm going to have dirt, dust, water, whatever, leaking inside of my trunk and, you know, just making a big old mess in here, which is what I'm trying to avoid. Actually, I'm going to attempt to see if I can drill. I need something on the inside of here that's going to like push in on this. I don't really have anything that's hydraulic, so I'm not quite sure what I could use. drill might be a little bit fat to get in here, but we're gonna try it anyways. I know myself, if I don't get this now, I'm gonna forget about this screw and potentially have a bad time in the future. Last thing I want is to puncture my own tire with my own screw. Okay. Well, I'm just going to hit everything with seam sealer and just start screwing stuff in. I won't mess with this too much. It's I'm not going to deal with that at the end of that gap for right this minute. Deal with that in a little bit. Right now, I'm just going to try and get this little screw in. Okay, cool. That one didn't want to go in. Perfect. Okay, I guess I'm just going to pre-drill all of my holes. So, as you can hear, these things do not like going through all the lips and stuff. Unfortunately, it's the only way unless I decide to remake this and I'm already this far in. I don't want to do that. So as much as it's bringing the metal to it, it's bringing the metal lip to itself. So again, it's all about getting this thing sealed. I don't really care how it seals. Once this stuff has a nice coat of black paint on it anyways, you won't even notice. At least I don't think you will. We're going to find out. That's for sure. Once I finish getting this little line through, I'm going to go back on the other side and make sure that all my little gaps are sealed on this. Make sure I used enough seam sealer, just so I don't have to worry about coming back through and scraping it out and putting it back in. I have a feeling seam sealing is not like the seal to itself. That's just personal speculation, though. I have no actual information because I've never used this stuff before. I know I had already drilled that hole before, but there's no way it was in the same position that it was. Alright, I'm going to take a look on the inside, see how this one turned out. Well, it doesn't look great, I'm going to be honest, but it's close. It's like 70% of the way there. Just needs a little bit more in some places. Which, you know, no one's perfect, so it's understandable that I might have messed a little bit up here or there. So what you can't see me doing right now is filling a tiny little void at the bottom of this instead of doing the metal work, mostly because, again, this doesn't actually matter to me that much. This is just to make sure that I'm not leaking a whole bunch of water and stuff inside my car. Okay, so there's a little tiny piece that I can't get to. It's all the way in the front up in this gap, but actually I can probably hit it from back here. Okay. Alright. I actually called that pretty well good. I didn't see any leaks on this upper piece. This bottom piece doesn't have any more leaks now. I'm just pushing this down because it'll look a little bit nicer with it down. But I'd call that good now, honestly. Now I just got to fill this tiny little piece right here, which I'm not sure if you guys can see. Alright, so now there's this tiny little hole right here that I'm going to make a design for, cardboard assisted design, and then I will how do I want to handle that? I will use that very small hole on the top, and I'll use a very small hole on the bottom, and then I'll just seam seal it. I could weld it, I could do all the fun welding stuff, but honestly, I don't think it's worth the effort. Not for this piece for sure. Alright, so I got my little spare piece from other things, from the other stuff that I was cutting up. And then I'm actually going to bang this down a bit. I'm not going to keep this floor mat, so I'm not too worried about getting a little dirty. Alright, so I want the full width. I want it up to about here. So. Okay, I guess this marker's died. It's unfortunate, I like this marker. But you can kind of see where my mark is. So I'm going to cut this piece out real quick. I'm going to mute you guys so you don't have to deal with the noise. Alright, and there we have it, our tiny little piece that I cut out. It should fit perfectly right here. Okay, not perfect, but close. Alright, so I'm just going to drill a hole right about where this one is. Try and see if I can match the little holes up. I would say that's close enough. Alright, so this little guy right here, I'm not sure if you guys can really see it, but there's a little screw in this corner that might mess this up a little bit. So I'm going to grind the rest of that out. I was leaving, well, I only cut the tips of these off so I didn't have to deal with super large screws sticking through, but I didn't really take that into consideration. Okay. It does not want to be sanded down. So let's hit it with the old angle grinder. Alright, that appears to have done the trick. I know I didn't sand down this part, but mostly out of sheer laziness, but that's fine. So I'm just going to quickly hit this with my little sanding disc. So what sanding this even a little bit does is it allows the seam sealer to have a surface to kind of like hold on to, so that it actually like sticks and does what it's supposed to do and not just run out. Alright, let's get my little self-tapping screw in through here. Pretty sure I just screwed on the wrong side. I should probably pay attention to which side I'm supposed to be doing this on. Alright, I'm just going to try and get this little screw in a little bit. Maybe. Eventually. Alright, cool. That's through. Let's match up my little holes. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to screw it from the back side, so I don't have screws sticking into my tires, or towards my tires at least. Perfect. Alright, so that looked beautiful. Now let's apply the seam sealer to this plate. Actually, I'll do it right here. Alright, so since this plate's not actually structural, I'm not too worried about having more screws or anything like that through it. I'm just going to kind of tap it all with a hammer, make sure it all goes in nice and tight. I guess if I wanted to, I probably should put another screw through here just to hold this down. Sorry, I was just making sure I put all my seam sealer all the way around. I am in fact going to put a second screw in this just to stop it from getting all weird. So I'm trying to avoid getting the seam sealer on my gloves because I know myself when I touch my paint and it's going to be miserable to get off the car. Alright, let's see if I can get that screw from the underside. I can't actually see this little screw hole, so I gotta steal your light. Oh, come on. So it started to go through and then it just kind of died. I'm not quite sure why, but Try this one more time. Second time's the charm every time, right? Alright, that's in, perfect, and it's holding. Alright, cool. So that is one side of the fender well. We'll call it 100% done. Obviously it's not perfect, but hey, you know, I'm a realist. I'm going to take what I can get, and with my current skills, that's as good as that one's going to get. So I'm going to take a little break, and maybe I'll come back in a day or two and take a look at the other side and start getting that working on. Until then, I hope y'all take care.